Hey guys, my name is Kanisha Satish Kumar, and today I'll talk about the Seattle Black Panther Party and the Black Student Union at UW. I'll show how their work shaped community organizing in Seattle. Then connect it to modern immigrant justice movements like the NWIRP. We'll look at their programs, protests, and campaigns for change. Finally, I'll highlight lessons from beautiful trouble tools and core theories that today's organizers can use. Okay, for the overview of the historical movements, the Seattle BPP started in late 1960s to fight for Black rights and community power. They created programs like free breakfast and community health clinics. So examples of what Beautiful Trouble calls mutual aid, and whether communities take care of their own needs rather than waiting on institutions. So the UW Black Student Union focused on students' activism and campus-based Black empowerment. So both movements challenged cultural hegemony by asserting the Black communities could define their own future. So they made sure they knew that they weren't like separated and they weren't an injustice, and they made sure to teach everyone about this. Okay, so for the Seattle Black Panther Party, the free breakfast program gave meals to children before school, and the community health clinic provided medical care to underserved neighborhood. And police accountability campaigns monitored law enforcement and educated residents about their rights. Each of these programs were mutual aid. And as I mentioned before, this is part of the big, beautiful, not big, the beautiful trouble tools that I mentioned. And we'll go into the beautiful trouble tools like more into the presentation, but I just want to mention when it comes up. So what the mutual aid is basically they met immediate needs while exposing systematic neglect. So they had the free breakfast program, right? And while they had the free breakfast program for the underserved, they also taught them about the injustice going in the world right now. So to make sure that they're aware of their rights and they aren't backing off for any reason and standing up for themselves. So from a target/agent perspective, they empowered marginalized agents while holding powerful institutions accountable. And they made sure to point them out and made sure to highlight to the ones that attended the breakfast that, hey, these are like the bad people that are treating us differently based on, in this scenario, based on skin color. So they made sure that the participants knew what was going on. Was like they're like spreading social awareness. And for the UW Black Student Union, the Black Power on campus, the UW Black Students Union worked to support Black students on campus. So they organized protests, cultural events, and political campaigns. And this direct challenge to exclusion in higher education pushed back against the institutional cultural hegemony. So, like the BPP, they combined service and advocacy. Their activism also reflected they also reflected intersectionality, so where students experienced oppression both as youth in education system and as Black community members beyond campus. And this was really important during the time, since that it wasn't really just like, oh, like we're holding campaigns to teach people. They were holding campaigns to teach young students. And so the new generation grew up to like know how they're being treated, to know the difference between how they're treated compared to a person who might be considered normal at that time, even though that's completely not true and everybody was equal. They made sure to like have them understand, like young generations, the upcoming generations, to stand up for their rights. Okay, now today immigrants in Black communities face challenges like racial profiling and legal barriers. The MWIRP works to support immigrant families through legal aid and advocacy, and local protests continue to highlight systematic issues in policing and social services. These modern efforts follow the example set by the BPP and the BSU. So this is what I wanted to focus on. So as we were experiencing issues in the past about skin color, and even currently, even though it might not be as big as it used to be, an ongoing issue that we are facing today is immigrant rights. And NWIRP stands for them. So this is called the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project, and they basically hold local protests like addressing the racial profiling, and this is like a community problem for legal support. So this also connects to the patriarchal Hill Collins domain of powers. So for structural unjust immigration and policing systems, so that's going to be the structural. And the disciplinary is how institutions like courts or schools enforce inequality. And then for cultural, like dominant narratives that criminalize like black and immigrant people. And interpersonal is the everyday prejudice people experience. So yeah. By resisting across all four domains, building legal aid, like structural, and protesting biased enforcement, which is disciplinary, and then reframing narratives, which is cultural, and creating safe community spaces, which is interpersonal. So that's how we fix today's organizers, and that's how we work better for today's organizers. And extends the strategies of BPP and BSU. Okay, now for the beautiful trouble tools. Before moving further, I wanted to introduce the beautiful trouble framework. And these four tools are practical methods that connect history to present day organizing. Okay, for the first one, we have solidarity economy / mutual aid, which is the same thing, but mutual aid like fits better, like to explain better. But the actual name is the solidarity economy. Okay, so basically what this is meeting community needs like directly, like similar to the free breakfast program and the leadership spaces in the campus. So that's basically mutual aid. So direct action is taking visible, disruptive steps to demand change, like protests or protocol. And story-based strategy is using stories, like telling stories to make an impact. And then building strong coalition is coalitions is linking struggles across different communities for broader impact. Okay. Now let's go deeper into it. So as we continue, I'll show you how the BPP and the BSU and modern groups like the NWIRP use each of these tools. Okay, direct action. One of the beautiful tools, most important tools, was central to both the BPP and the BSU. The BPP organized patrols to monitor police activity in the neighborhoods. The BSU held protest and awareness campaigns on campus. And direct action shifts the balance of powers by refusing to remain passive. This shows how visible and purposeful steps rather than negotiation alone. this can challenge dominant agents and disrupt cultural hegemony. Okay. Now, for creating empowered communities, both movements created safe space where communities members can grow and support each other. The BPP's programs offered meals, healthcare, and education. The BSU helped students build leadership and advocacy skills. This reflects solidarity economy as known as the mutual aid, another beautiful tool, trouble tools. So building the world you want in the here and now. So these safe, empowered spaces modeled Collins' interpersonal domains. So they reshape daily lives while preparing communities to resist broader systems of oppression. And another tool, as I told before, is story-based strategy. So this is another beautiful tool, beautiful trouble tool, and was essential to both of the movements. So leaders shared personal experiences and collective struggles, building solidarity. So, quotes and oral histories preserve these lessons for future generations. So storytelling is powerful because it reframes who the heroes and agents of change are. So shifting narratives away from dominant institutions. So they made sure to pinpoint who actually was causing these troubles in the community and who actually is trying to help them from it, which is why it's so important. Okay, and today's organizers can use storytelling to inspire, educate, and mobilize across different communities. Okay, quotes for historical movements is these quotes highlight the vision behind the BPP and the BSU programs. They show story-based strategies at work, clear and memorable words that communicate values of education, leadership, and practical action. These narratives challenge cultural hegemony by making oppressed communities visible as leaders. So modern activists can apply same framing to immigrant injustice and racial inequality work. And the quotes that we have here today, the first one is Seattle by Seattle BPP, is what we are doing is trying to build the kind of community we want to live in. And the one by UWBSU is our mission is to give students the tools to fight for injustice on campus and beyond. Against injustice. Okay. Now for the historical contemporary comparison is the BPP and the BSU tracked both urgent problems and systematic injustice. Their programs were mutual aid, their protests were direct action, and their coalition expanded their impact. So they built strong coalition, a beautiful tool, trouble tool helped them link campus, neighborhoods, and citywide struggles. So modern immigrant justice campaigns also rely on coalition across race, immigration status, and class. So coalition work resists oppression in multiple domains at once, reflecting intersectionally, um, intersectionally in practice. So for modern lessons, historical movements teach us that action must go hand in hand with service. So safe, empowered spaces build trust. Storytelling preserves memory and inspires. Coalition, okay. So coalition expands reach and effectiveness. Each of these beautiful trouble tools, mutual aid, direct action, story-based strategy, and build strong coalition, these are the that was used by the different movements to make sure the people understood what they were in And so strategic planning ensures actions are sustainable and not symbolic alone. Together, they provided a toolkit for resisting cultural hegemony and building just communities. Okay, now I want you to reflect on what you have learned. So, how could you use BPP and BSU tactics, like mutual aid or direct action, be applied to modern campaigns? What are practical ways to inform or practical ways to form coalition across communities? How can storytelling strengthen solidarity? Which lessons are most useful to today's context? So take a moment to think about this, and I especially want to direct this presentation towards um like social clubs in high schools or middle schools or even like any clubs that are going on right now. I want to focus this to you guys because you guys are the next generation, and as the BPP and the BSU did, they did target students. And one of the things that I think should happen is also targeting students. So, how do you think we can use these strategies for today's issues? So, if you guys could comment down below, that would be great. And for the references, these are the references I use. Thank you.